Hi, welcome to Mr. Correa's Teacher Tech Tool Reviews. Today we're going to be looking at JumpRope. Everybody's familiar with the JumpRope. We can use them to work out. A lot of kids use them, adults, athletes. Not those types of jump ropes. Okay, let's move on. So the actual type of jump rope we're talking about today is an online standards-based grade book. So we can use it to do things like track attendance, keep track of grades, and also use it to look at the data that we generated. So let's see how JumpRope is actually used on a daily basis. First thing is we can actually use JumpRope to just track attendance. We can see the attendance that other teachers have entered in, and it's also going to show us birthdays for certain students. Now the attendance tab is over here. Left hand side, I can enter in attendance. These are my students. This is everything that the teachers have entered in for the day, so I can see if a student might be cutting my class. Now, before we enter grades, we're actually going to have to design those assessments. And with standard-based grading, we're going to want to have some Common Core learning standards associated with that. JumpRope makes that pretty easy because I can just import them from online. Also, I can track formative and summative assessments without worrying about if it's going to count toward a student's grade. So this is an example of that view here. This is the assessment. Here are the associated standards. If I want to switch between summative or formative, I can do that over here. Now, once we're actually entering grades, it's pretty intuitive. There are a couple of different views that can be used in order to see where I'm entering those grades. So over here, I can pick different assessments. I would have my students' names over here. And on the right-hand side, these are the different standards where I can put my different grades in. It's kind of hard to see though since it's written sideways, so you might make a small error. A different view over here is the unit view, which is useful if you have a lot of grades to enter in. I can see all my assessments up here at the top. My students would be here, and I can just enter all the grades in over here. Also, a really good feature is everything auto saves. So once we actually have all that data, we can use it to try and inform our instruction. JumpRope does a good job of this because it actually shows us a couple of different views to see our data. So I can see it listed by students, class, unit, or even the standard. This is the typical student view. I would have my students' names listed here. This is how overall they're done based on all the standards that I've given. Now, a different type of view, I can actually look based on all the standards and see how the actual class did overall. So I could see one standard, the whole class is at a 2.3, different standard they're at a 1.2. That might help inform my instruction. I can see where the students need to focus and what they're already doing good at. If I wanted to click on one of these drop-down menus, I'd actually see where each of the students individually falls based on that standard. So let's talk about some of the strengths here. One of the strengths is that I can see what other teachers have entered in the attendance tab, so I know if somebody is just cutting my class or if they're actually absent. So I can actually see some reports for that attendance that are going to tell me the percentage of students has been absent or the percentage of times that they've been late to a class. Standards are all imported from Common Core, which is really nice. It saves us some time, and grades are entered quickly with that unit view. I also like the fact that we have that formative and summative data being able to be entered there. Also, since there are different types of ways to view our data, you can kind of find whatever you need in order to inform your instruction. And if you're somebody that really likes to use spreadsheets, JumpRope is also going to let you export that data to a spreadsheet in case you want to use a pivot table. But who knows what those are anyway, right? Now, some of the weaknesses of JumpRope. So, you kind of need a license in order to get the most out of it. They do have an individual teacher version, but you're going to have some limited functionality there. So if you really want to get the most out of JumpRope, your school has to use it. The attendance tab really does have some limitations, and as a teacher, that's what you're going to be using on a daily basis. I do find it really annoying how I have to actually click on each name individually in order to cycle through the attendance. There's not a way to just click a button that has everybody present and then just mark the people that are absent. Another thing that I mentioned before is it's kind of hard to read what standards you're entering grades for when you're on that unit view. So it's easier to enter them, but you might make a mistake, especially if it's midnight and you're trying to meet that late deadline. Also, all your grades are in the cloud, so if anything ever happens and JumpRope's down for some reason, you won't be able to access them. Last thing is that as teachers in the DOE, we have to put those grades into stars. That can be kind of hard to do since it's not going to manually do that for us. Overall, I think JumpRope is a pretty decent tool. If your school does standard-based grading, it's going to get the job done. I give it 3.5 superstars out of 5. I think it's pretty good for standard-based grading, and the multiple tabs there give us a nice view to see how we can actually use that data and inform our instruction. But my biggest gripe again is just with that attendance tab. So that's the end. Thanks for watching. Hope you see us next week where we talk about the Promethean board.